X-Men. Hello, Internet. Welcome to Tales of Showcase, where we point deadly weapons at our friends' faces. I'm your host, the Watcher of New Earth. Today we're going to be talking about X-Men #1 from 1991, the best-selling comic book of all time. Written by legendary X-Men writer Chris Claremont, with art by the legendary Jim Lee, X-Men #1 is probably the most representative comic of the speculator boom in the early 90s. Although, I guess the death of Superman can also be argued for that too. Anyways, X-Men #1 printed millions of copies along with numerous variants, a trend that still continues today, and it flew off the shelves. The speculator boom in the 90s was brought about from people hearing stories of other people getting rich off of Golden and Silver Age comics, so naturally they assumed that any comic would be worth a lot in the future. However, companies took advantage of this and decided to start making tons and tons and tons of copies of comics, knowing that people would flock out and buy them. And, as basic economics shows us, the more of something there is, the less value it has. How little value am I talking? The shipping costs more on this. And the shipping was pretty darn cheap. Anyway, we're not here to talk about the value of the book, we're here to talk about the book itself. So without further ado, let's dig into X-Men #1 and see if it's worth the 8.1 million copies. Our story begins in space. In space! We follow a ship that is being pursued by 3 other ships. They blast each other and one of the pursuers is destroyed. I just nailed one of the pursuit ships. Kill the other 2, then we'll cheer. Or in other words...
Got him! I got him! Great, kid! Don't get cocky!
The pursuers are naturally angry, but before they can retaliate, a blinding light explodes up ahead. Oh no! They used Flash! Our accuracy fell! It's revealed to be Magneto, and he's rightfully angry that the fight is drawn so close to Asteroid M, his orbiting satellite home. Magneto plans to simply put them back on Earth, but one of the people on the ship that was being pursued reveals that they're mutants seeking Magneto, claiming that mutants need him more than ever, and asking him if he can truly deny his destiny.
I'm your density.
Star City Cosmodrome. Star City? Does that mean Green Arrow's showing up? Actually, this is in Russia. It turns out that the ship the mutants stole was Russian. While they normally handle something like this alone, they were unaware of Magneto's presence until he destroyed the shuttle. That's why they call in Nick Fury Sr., who's the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. When Fury returns to Washington, he expresses his worries, prompting the president to ask if he has an alternative. I want to assemble a team of a big green guy, a tin man, a demigod. 40 miles north of New York City, just shy of the Connecticut border, a couple of miles down Graymalkin Lane from the town of Salem Center. So this is how you get to Sesame Street. Pfft, I've been so blind. Stands Charles Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters. A very special school for very special people. Yes, very special people. Like people who start fires and attack mommies with knives and think Captain America should be a Nazi. Actually, as we should all know by now, it's the home of the X-Men, mutants with awesome powers that try to save the world. They are currently in the middle of a training exercise with the objective being to tag Professor X. The professor is in a separate room accompanied by... Jean Grey. I don't care if you die more often than a soap opera character, we can make it work! Oh, sorry. So much has changed since I was last in this mansion, including myself. Why, I swear last time I was here I looked just like James McAvoy. Actually, Charles is worried that his dream has lost all meaning and is not worth all the bloodshed it's caused. However, Jean assures him that they all believe in his dream, otherwise they wouldn't be here. Outside, the team is still attempting to enter the mansion. However, missiles begin to fire, which speaks badly for Iceman. He's saved, however, by... Rogue. I don't care if a touch of your skin could kill me. We can make it work. Oh, jeez, sorry. Right, sorry. Rogue is able to destroy the missiles, and the team continues to attempt to catch the professor to no avail. However, it's revealed that Wolverine, Psylocke, and Gambit came in through the sewer and are closing in. Cyclops sends in an army of robots to delay them. Gambit, however, pushes ahead and locates Jean and Charles, and is able to incapacitate Jean. La tournament est finie, cher. I win. Time to claim my prize, eh? Back off, LeBeau. You already got Rogue. Jean's mine. But as they kiss, Jean explodes.
That's the trouble with some dames. kiss them and they fly apart.
It's revealed that the Professor and Jean had been life model decoys this whole time, and the real ones were with Cyclops and the others. As they begin talking, Wolverine suddenly claws his way through the floor.
Hiya, Chuck. Your robot duplicates fooled the Cajun. Not me. I know your scent too well. Bang, Charlie. You're dead.
But suddenly Logan slipped on some wiring and... Just kidding, he's fine. But since the exercise is over, it's revealed that it was all an illusion put on by the Danger Room. Well, at least the new one, which can replicate any environment and situation that the X-Men can imagine. Because science. Little side note, I love how Colossus is just holding the disembodied head of the Jean decoy. I mean, what must he be thinking? Alas, poor Jean. I knew her well. Oh well, she'll be back in a month. Later that day, Nick Fury contacts the X-Men, seeking their help with the Magneto situation. While most of the team are quick to lean towards dealing with him, Storm and especially Rogue seem to have their reservations about assuming he's the villain in all this. Back on Asteroid M, the mutants and their pursuers wake up to find that Magneto has taken them into his home. A fight breaks out between them as the leader is rightfully ticked off about everyone who died on the blown-up ship. Magneto comes down and puts an end to it, but as the female mutant runs towards Magneto, the human leader opens fire on her. As she's dying at his feet, Magneto goes into a fit of rage and manipulates the guy's weapons and promptly blows his brains out. Now, I know that this usually means that Magneto's a villain and all that, he's never changed his ways, but this guy was really begging for it. I mean, who shoots a mutant in front of Magneto? That's a special kind of stupid. As he mourns over the fallen mutant, another of the mutants, named Fabian Cortez, approaches Magneto to tell him that there's going to be retaliation from Earth for what's going on, and that he needs to make a statement. At Xavier's school, the professor has detected Magneto re-entering the Earth's atmosphere, and the X-Men jump into action. Magneto has arrived in the mid-Atlantic where he's raising a submarine that he sank after they attempted to nuke him. He's gone there to stock up on nukes himself. You know, like you do. Unfortunately for him, the X-Men get there quickly.
You raised this wreck out of the kindness of your heart, Mags? Figured maybe to give these sailor boys a decent burial or what?
I sunk Leningrad as an act of self-defense, Wolverine.
This is your third strike. First you torched that orphanage, then you blew up that bus full of nuns.
Hey, that was self-defense.
But the X-Men seem to have watched First Class and know that Magneto and nukes don't really mix, and they spring into action. However, being on top of a giant hunk of metal gives Magneto the edge. He easily repels their attacks. In fact, the only one to land a hit is Psylocke. And can we talk about Psylocke's pose for a sec? I mean, seriously, with this pose, she's practically got it trademarked. Every single comic I see her in, she has her leg all outstretched, completely exposing her... Oh. Now everything makes sense. Moving on. She doesn't last long, however, and is quickly taken down. Logan strikes next, but Cyclops can see that there's no mercy in his attacks, so he decides to put some distance between the two and blasts Magneto into the submarine, where he finds many corpses of the men he killed. Face to face with his victims, Magneto is no longer able to see them as abstracts and has to accept the consequences. I think this scene specifically shows how Magneto's grown as a character over the years. I mean, when he was first created, he was essentially the poor man's Dr. Doom. You know, ruthless, cruel, always believing he's right, blah 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 blah. But here, we see him vulnerable. And I mean, borderline afraid as he sees his victims, and he's flashing back to a time when he was buried under a whole mountain of corpses. And that fear, that humanity, kind of speaks for how Magneto's grown as a character over the years. Not being able to take it anymore, he takes off with the missiles in tow. Rogue follows, still trying to make peace. However, Beast reveals that they're flying over Soviet airspace. Rogue eventually catches up and begins to reason with him. That is, until a Soviet plane fires a missile, striking Rogue.
There's your answer, child. And mine. Whatever we decide, the world will never accept us. They mean only our destruction.
Shut up and save her, you moron! He does manage to save her, but also detonates one of the nukes, releasing a blinding white light. Blast! Flash again! We're never gonna get him with this low accuracy! Reveal that the blast knocked out several power systems across the continent. Magneto, however, is too busy brooding, and doing his impression of Dr. Light at the end of Identity Crisis, to care. The mutant from before, Fabian, makes Magneto rest, all the while telling him that they and the X-Men cannot and will not coexist. He goes on to say that the only way for mutants to thrive is for Magneto to take charge. Place your faith and fate in my hands. You will not regret it. Not gonna lie, I'm like 95% sure this is exactly what Grima Wormtongue told Theoden. And we all know how that played out. Back on Earth, the X-Men search for Rogue at the site of the explosion. However, Xavier communicates telepathically that he just received a call stating that Rogue was taken to a hospital in Genosha, an island that the X-Men have aided in the past. Rogue awakens there to find that Genosha is under attack by the mutants from Asteroid M. It's also revealed that they're after her. Aren't we all? They tell her to join them, but Rogue won't have any of it. They gang up on her, but just then, the X-Men show up and turn the fight in their favor. Just as they're about to win, however, Magneto shows up to put an end to it, while he's holding his cape up. Maybe he thought he was fighting a mountain lion?
Big!
Which you mountain lions find terrifying.
Magneto has arrived to take his acolytes, but also declares Asteroid M a sovereign world that will provide sanctuary to any and all mutants, even the X-Men. He then leaves with the ultimatum that he will also personally deal with any harm done to mutants. I wonder if that includes paper cuts. We then cut to one of the most underrated X-Men, Banshee, going to speak with Dr. Moira McTaggart, only to find her crying as she exclaims that everything that's happening is her fault. And the comic ends advertising the next issue. Next, Firestorm. Aw, sweet! First Green Arrow, now Firestorm! Wait, does that mean the X-Men are moving to the CW? I don't know, but I do know that this comic is awesome. The story is great, giving us an overview of the main players, setting up a brand new story arc, and having enough action to remain entertaining. As I said earlier, the stuff with Magneto is especially impressive. The art is also spectacular. Jim Lee has established himself as an art god to the comic book fandom. While I find that some of his more recent work doesn't have the same appeal, this time around he was fresh blood and he was giving it his all, which benefits the book greatly. Aside from a deplorable lack of Nightcrawler, this comic was great. Big, huge, exciting. But I can't help but feel it was a little too big. Maybe next week we should take on something a little smaller. Till then, thanks for joining me. I've been the Watcher of New Earth, signing off.